So in this video, I'll give you some sort of 5 tips that can help you take advantage of Archie AI. So tip number 1 is summary. So for any repo, we provide a nice overview of what are the requirements, what are the main features, and how it's implemented. And that could be a sort of entry point for you to understand the code base. For example, this repository, slot CLI, this is about scanning the code base and then coming up with IAM policy for cloud. So it gives that these are the top functionalities, and for each functionality it tells that how it's doing. For example, this is a scan command here, and in the case of scanning the repository, this is the main function that is used. So that's the first good entry point for you to understand a code base. The second feature that you can use is the file linkage graph. And this graph plots that in the last, in overall code base, which file is linked a lot. So for example, this colors.ts is most linked one. And idea that any file that is linked more is more critical. And then this is a CLI tool, so that's why it's expected for this one to be more linked. But we can also see some other repositories here. For example, let me use this repository, Storm. So if I go to this Storm repository and see its file linkage graph, so you'd see that the interface.py, for example, is the most linked file. And this defines the storage class perhaps there, which is the core aspect of interacting with this library. So that could be your second way to understand code base. The third is the heat map. And what heat map does, it plots in the last 10,000 commits which file is changing most. And once it identified that these files are changing, it also gives you that for that particular file, what is the function map, what is the data flow, and some explanation that can give you a way to understand it more. For example, we can take this file src utils. So it gives that, okay, these are the main classes here, and what it's doing, this provided code is collection of utility function and classes that can be used in processing and analyzing the web content. So Storm is a way for to help a researcher do the research, and it seems that this utils.py helps in sort of article text processing, file helper, and other. So it's one of the core part of that library. So that's the third feature. The fourth one is the Q&A. So when you are using Q&A, I would encourage you to be very specific. Like LLM understand the abstract aspect of the code, but if you want it to focus on particular thing, for example, show me how scan for AWS works. So in this case, it knows that it has to look into the class that is scanning the repository for AWS. So it's figured that this particular file is there, and then it can explain you and focusing on that class. And this is the AWS scanner class, how it's defined, and the CLI aspect of it. The fifth one that I would say is helpful once this is fully loaded. The fifth one I would say is helpful is that when you know that this is a specific files and function you need question about, then you can use our attach function. This can help localize the query to particular aspect of the code. For example, I want to understand this is scanner class that is used primarily for scanning. So explain this file to me. I can just focus on this particular file. So now it will just focus that this is the file. This defines a scanner class and TypeScript, and what is the strategy. So it has a private member of this class as this. This is the scan method. It goes code snippet by code snippet and does and find the list calls. So for example, the AWS config call was there, S3 list bucket call was there. So by going through this, I can focus on this particular class to understand the overall code base. So these are the 5 tips that I would say for you to use our code understanding part. So just to recollect, the first one is summary. That gives you a nice overview of what this code base is about. The second one is file linkage, that gives you that which file is linked a lot, so most critical to the code base. The third one is heat map, which file is changing a lot, where developer is spending more time thinking through, and then deeper dive into that. Then use our chat functionality, try to be specific, and if you want to localize the queries, use our attach files and function feature. Thank you so much.